Thank you very much indeed. Madam Deputy Speaker, I hope you had, and everyone in this chamber had, a very good summer break with just the right proportions of sun, sleep and family. Let me, if I may, start with a double round of congratulations. First to the Prime Minister on his 63rd birthday this week, putting him squarely in the prime of life, and to my brilliant colleague, the MP for Berwickshire, Roxburgh and Selkirk, who has just been appointed to the giddy heights of Deputy Shadow Leader of the House. That is the reshuffle that really matters. Madam Deputy Speaker, as befits a former lawyer at Freshfields, he will be bringing his forensic intellect to scrutinising the government. Madam Deputy Speaker, I was planning to talk about the government's performance over the summer in business questions today, taking into account the escalating union demands for pay, the rise in inflation, employment and gilt yields, the record number of small boat crossings in the first half of this year. I think it's fair to say the past few weeks have been a total shambles for the government. Little wonder the Prime Minister has undertaken yet another of his performative government resets in order to distract the media and the general public. He insists that everything is absolutely fine, which is doubtless why it's all being changed around yet again. They can't blame these things on the previous government, though doubtless the Leader of the House will try in her response. No, Madam Deputy Speaker, today there can only be one topic, and that is tax. In the real world, it seems that those of us poor souls who actually do pay tax are about to be confronted with a massive tax-raising budget, perhaps with a particular focus, it's been rumoured in the media, or kites have been flown, on property taxes. Last year, the Chancellor increased spending by £70 billion, funding half of that through taxes and half through increased borrowing. Of course, the only person who won't be paying more tax, it seems, is the Deputy Prime Minister. Now, I like and I rather admire the Deputy Prime Minister, Madam Deputy Speaker. Uniquely amongst the government, at least she has a policy of trying to reduce taxes. We've just heard in this House the Solicitor General talk about government taking a strict line on fraud. I didn't hear so much from the Solicitor General about taking a strict line on tax fraud. But we now have a situation in which the Deputy Prime Minister, or potential tax fraud, has tried to dodge paying £40,000 in tax on her third home after demanding previous ministers should resign over tax scandals. It appears that she failed even to look at HMRC guidance on the internet as to whether higher rate stamp duty was payable. That guidance is readily available and it is straightforward. It is hard to imagine that any qualified tax advisor, let alone any individual seeking to question their own tax arrangements, would not have taken a look at it or know about it. The Deputy Prime Minister signed a deed for what appears to be an off-the-shelf trust scheme from Shoesmith, the solicitors. I ask, was this crafted to avoid tax? And we need to know more about what disclosures she made to the civil service about her 3 homes, what review they did, and what advice she was offered. I hope the Prime Minister's advisor will look at both these issues in addition to all the other issues he's looking at. So I ask the Leader of the House now, does she believe Cabinet Ministers, let alone the Deputy Prime Minister of this country, should be using schemes to dodge tax? Should the Secretary of State responsible for housing be flipping her own main residence to avoid paying tax due on it? Does she concede that there is the appearance of very serious impropriety about these proceedings? Does she see how difficult they have made the situation for her colleague, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, who's planning to put a budget in front of this House that will include tax-raising measures, many of which like to be focused on property? Above all, Labour and every member opposite stood by this, made a solemn commitment to maintain, and I quote, the highest standards in office in their own general election manifesto. The highest standards in office. Does the Leader of the House accept that this conduct by the Deputy Prime Minister massively falls short of that, and that it discredits both the Prime Minister and the government as a whole?
Leader.